Well, we'll call the committee to order. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Motion by Senator D'Alessandro, second by Senator Ennis. All those in favor of going into executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Ayes have it. We are in executive session. Okay. I've had some special requests to move things around a little bit, so we're going to take UNH first. Come on up. That'll just save you the walk when we get to the questions. Okay. Who's going to do the introduction from LBA? Okay.
Did you have a question, Senator? I'm sorry.
No.
So you,
What you guys have
sorry.
been doing is just doing a little intro for me.
Sure. So
You know, save me some talking.
on page 6 of your packet for today is where you'll see the University System of New Hampshire started, and then there's 3 items on there, and they're all to us from Senator Bradley.
Okay. First item is the block appropriation, $95 million per year, $190 million for the biennium. Discussion?
If I may, Mr.
Certainly,
Chair.
Senator.
You know, I think we should most certainly do this, and as you know, I think it would be nice if we could do a little better. The university system has for 5 years held tuition flat and is going to do it for a 6th year, as I understand. And I think it's important that we keep tuition as reasonable as we possibly can. We know that keeping young people in our state for higher education increases the probability that they'll stay in our state for a career. And we saw numbers from the system not long ago about the number of graduates in the last 9 years, I think, who had stayed in our state and are contributing substantially to the economy, growing our small businesses, helping our economy remain strong. I'd also point out the enormous economic impact the institution has on our state. Hundreds of millions of dollars come in from federal funding and support researchers, support services, support providers throughout the state and the region. So the economic impact of this institution, I mean, it's immeasurable, really. And I would encourage the committee to fund at this level, if at all possible, and ideally go higher.
Senator D'Alessandro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I echo the sentiments of the Vice Chair. The university system has been strained over the years by reductions in our appropriation. And at the same time we've reduced our appropriation, we've asked them to hold tuition. And they've pretty much done that along the line. And at the same time, we've had restructuring at the university. We've brought in more research dollars. We've asked the university to help fund on their own, with their own dollars, the resurrection of some of the buildings that are on campus. For example, Spalding Hall, which was opened when I was a student. All right, that was the first year of operation of that building. I think we've got to pay attention to retaining the students in the state of New Hampshire. The kids that go to the university stay. My daughter graduated from the university, is currently employed by the Charitable Foundation, but it took 5 years working for Save the Children in London for her to come back. And it was having her child, one of her children, in the medical needs that child needed. They brought her back to this country. So, I mean, I'm a product of the university, got all of the benefits, I believe, of the university, and most of the time I say the best 4 years of my life. Had wonderful mentorship by professors at the university who guided me to graduation, which was a difficult task in those days, given my academic performance. But to reduce funding is just, I think, crazy. We got a jewel here. Mm-hmm. I was chairman of the New England Board of Higher Education for a number of years, served on the New England Board of Higher Education for over 20 years. And we were always considered to be really the state university. And Connecticut got $1 billion appropriation, $1 billion appropriation. to sustain themselves in the area. Maine has billboards up all over the New England area saying, "Come to the University of Maine because we offer the same tuition as in-staters." So, you know, we're fighting a decreasing number of high school graduates. The demand for these bodies is high, and indeed we should provide the best possible situation we can for the university. It just it is the number one talking point, I think, when we talk about New Hampshire. You know, we talk about quality education. We all want quality education for our children. As I said, my daughter graduated from the university. My wife graduated from the university. I graduated from the university. My brother graduated from the university. You know, we believe in the university and what the university represents. You know, it represents opportunity. If you deny opportunity based on the cost differential because we can't properly fund it, then we have a very serious problem. A very serious problem. We're talking about spending $400 million for a prison. And we're not going to blink an eye at that. We got $10 million in the budget to do a study for a new state penitentiary. We got 2,000 people in that building. We're paying for them every day. You know, they get room, board, and tuition free. It costs about $20,000 a year to house somebody there. And we're going to build a new psychiatric wing on the hospital. What's that costing us? Another 50 or 60 million? And we got to staff that. Why should we detract in any way from the thing that's going to make the difference? And that's the university. It's the system. We've got to believe in it. And there are, you know, there are a lot of demands. I understand that. But the one demand that makes us all equal is an educational opportunity. And if we're doing anything that deprives anybody of that, then geez, farming, well, agriculture and mechanics. I mean, that's what a land grant university is. It's agriculture and mechanics. And I remember that. Look, we used the farm at the university, the horse farm. Look at Lou Smith Estate gave us a fortune to maintain the horses that are provided at the university. So it just seems to be so many people benefit, and it's beyond me for us to do something less than what the House suggested, and I think we're remiss in our duties if we don't do that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further discussion on item 1? Do I have a motion?
I will move item 1 ought to pass. The appropriation would be $95 million per year, $190 million. That is a 7.3% increase.
And I will second that. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Item 2, discussion on, Senator Bradley, you have an amendment. I'll select you first.
Well, I think it's a deletion. I would propose that we delete this section of HB2. I just think we're trying to, you know, have a responsible budget. This is something that is probably more of a want than a need, and I would propose that we remove it.
Mr. Chairman, you know what?
Senator D'Alessandro.
I don't want to be repetitive, but what are we asking of our system? Aren't we asking them to be bold, innovative, and creative? And they've got to have tools to do that. And we have made investments in our university, and they've paid tremendous dividends. We made an appropriation of $5 million to increase the nursing program. What did they do? They doubled the number of nurses. Double the number of nurses. Put the lab for the nurses on campus so that the training could be of the highest nature. They responded to our needs and responded to our requests. what are we talking about here? You know, what are we talking about? On the one hand, we want all of these positive things to take place. On the other hand, we won't allow them to take place because we won't fund them. Just doesn't make any sense to me. It's counterintuitive. As I say, and all of us have a stake. All of us have a stake in the one thing that's going to last we're going to be gone. They're going to be here in perpetuity. That university is going to be around, we hope, until the end of time. And what are we doing? Are we not preparing for it to be as good as it could be? That's all. That's for me. Thank you.
So I would just say that, as I said before, the operating expenditures are going up 7.3%. We're funding a hockey rink at $6 million. I don't know why we need a lab to study Bitcoin. That's what this is about. I don't think today that is necessary, and I don't think we're undermining students at UNH as a result of that.
Senator Birdsall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know this is a section that Senator Bradley is looking to get rid of, but is it true, from what I'm hearing, that anyone who's hired at UNH has to write a DEI statement?
Thank you for the question, Senator. I'm not certain that everyone hired has to write a DEI statement. Honestly, I don't know enough about the specific requirements for hiring at UNH.
What would be the purpose?
The part of what we are part of our mission is to be inclusive and have provide diversity of thought for everyone. So I believe that is part of the purpose of the work.
Follow-up?
Absolutely.
But couldn't that be used, depending on how someone writes it, could that not be used as a reason to discriminate against hiring them? I just don't understand why someone would need to write a DEI statement in order to be hired.
Senator, frankly, I don't have the breadth of experience in the hiring process to effectively answer your question. I'd like to provide you with a contact or have someone else address the question about the hiring practices. I apologize, I'm not
Okay.
Involved in the specific hiring practices at UNH.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to clarify for the committee, if you look at this item in fiscal '23, the document here says $150,000. It's 1.5 million. So there's a typo here, but the amendment on page 7 is good. So if you do support this, just know it's 1.5 million is what is in House Bill 2 now, not 150,000.
If I might ask one question.
Absolutely, Senator.
Kathy, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but this money for the interoperability lab, what little I know about that lab, I'm guessing this isn't about studying Bitcoin. Rather, it's about how it the systems interface out there.
So
in
this
the
was
ether.
not a request by the university system.
Okay.
This was included in House Bill 2 by the governor based on a recommendation made by a blockchain or cryptocurrency study commission that he had chartered, and that's where that recommendation came from. That was not an item that was requested by the university system.
Thank you for that.
Senator Rosenwald.
The little I know about blockchain, isn't it used in lots of applications?
Yes, and I don't know a lot about blockchain either, but it's my understanding that there are many more possible uses of the technology that haven't even been discovered yet.
Thank you.
Seeing no further discussions, Senator Bradley, do you have a motion?
I move item 2 ought to pass, please.
So ought to pass on amendment 2023-1637. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. No. And the ayes have it. Item number 3 is another Bradley amendment. Senator Bradley.
So this amendment deals with guardianship after being in state foster care. I understand it, and maybe there's a certain amount of set-asides for tuition waivers. This allocates, of the 70 waivers, 35 to the university and 35 to the community college system.
Further discussions? Senator D'Alessandro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've sponsored legislation in the past that takes care of kids that would like to go to the university, and this does give them further help. But it's another indication of what we ask the university to do. We ask them to serve all people, to give them an opportunity to make life better. This is an ingredient in that process. But in order to make all of these things happen, you got to fund the university properly. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, a motion on 2023-1632S. Senator Bradley, I believe, moves passage.
I move, yes.
And Senator D'Alessandro, I believe, seconds it.
Yes.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And the ayes have it. Fish and Game on page 4?
Page 4.
4. Okay.
So for Fish and Game, the first 4 items here came forward from the department when they had a hearing a week or so ago. And the department can revisit those as the committee has questions. And then we do have an amendment from Senator Bradley and Rosenwald relative to online registration payments for OHRV and snowmobiles.
Okay. Item 1, Fish and Game appropriation, general funds, cost of living. I'm told that the House appropriation was for $4 million.
So this is relative to the collective bargain 10% and 2% raises. In House Bill 2, there is a fish and game fund appropriation to cover those fish and game funded employees. The department has asked the committee to consider having the general fund pay for that share for those employees rather than the fish and game fund. And those are the dollars that you see reflected, $875,000 in '24 and almost $1.1 million in '25.
And if we didn't fund it, he could come back through fiscal and request the funds?
No, not general funds. Fish and Game has the authority to draw from Fish and Game surplus funds only, but not for general funds, no.
Discussion?
Thank you. Question. Mickey, how have we done this in past pay raises? Have we appropriated general funds?
Not to my knowledge. Generally, the any collective bargaining pay raise is the source of funds of the employees that they're budgeted under. So Fish and Game Fund employees would have a Fish and Game appropriation associated with the COLA, Highway Fund, sweepstakes funds, et cetera.
Thinking about this, could I put a footnote in HB 1 that would allow them to come back to fiscal and ask for the funds?
We could do an amendment. I think it would have to be a House Bill 2 amendment, I'm not sure we could do it in a House Bill 1 footnote, but we could work on something if that's what you wanted to do, to allow for, we'd have to be clear as what the parameters of the request could be for.
Then I'm gonna put this one on hold pending the amendment. Item number 2, discussion. We're looking possibly at taking that down from 4 people to 2 people in this particular one. Does that spur discussion from the senators? Senator Rosenbaum.
Thank you. Since these are federal funds, or mostly, can those be accepted through fiscal? Or do they have to be in the budget?
They don't have to be in the budget. The federal portion of this request could be brought through fiscal. The general funds, there'd be no mechanism for the department to access the general funds needed. The federal funds would cover the first 18 months of the biennium. They have a shortfall of their available ARPA dollars to cover the entire 24 months. That's the general fund piece.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further.
I have a question,
Senator
actually.
Pearl.
So if you have funds enough to cover 4 positions for 18 months, couldn't you cover 3 positions for the full 24 months?
2 positions.
No, 3. What I'm saying is if you have ARPA funds enough to cover 4 positions for 18 months,
One position.
then you'd only need, then you could cover 3 of those positions. If you cut this back from 4 positions to 3, wouldn't the 4 positions for 18 months cover the full cost of the 3 positions for 24 months? Doing the math real quick? Or
Sounds
won't it
good to
work-
me. We'll let the Fish and Game answer.
Or won't it work that way? Am I not understanding? How come?
If federal funds fund 18 months at all 4 positions, we only need to fund 1 position for the remaining 6 months.
Or let him just fund 3 instead of 4 for the full 24 months with the same money.
And do it all through ARPA.
Yeah,
Except that they have to.
It's up to Commissioner.
The funds have to be expended, or you can't go beyond December 20.
okay, so
Commissioner?
that's the,
I think it's time for you to answer the question from the 2 senators here.
I think Senator Bradley's onto it, that
Yeah,
we have
okay.
to expend the money by December 24,
okay, so that's the crucial deadline.
right?
Yeah, okay.
So that would be the extra 6, so we wouldn't have access to the federal money at all. The issue here, some of you may have participated, may remember, there was a lawsuit against the state of New Hampshire, specifically DES, tore down the AOT rules, the rules got rewritten, and the process for Fish and Game slowed to a crawl. And I'm sure some of you folks had multiple calls from constituents complaining about getting their AOT applications finished through DES because Fish and Game was going so slow. This is the program that we started. The governor looked at it and helped us get Gopher funds to pay for this program to get it up and running. The big question is going to be, as this program continues, as the need for this program continues, is how we're going to actually pay for it in the future. Whether this will become a general funded program or whether it'll become a fee funded program. And the next 2 years, we'll spend the time to try to come to that decision and represent that to the legislature in the next budget cycle. The big issue, first of all, obviously, our need is to protect the wildlife, the endangered, in this case, the endangered and threatened species of the state of New Hampshire. By law, that's our responsibility. At the same time, contractors, developers, need for low-income housing, need for jobs in New Hampshire, creates the need for us to move at a fairly rapid pace in protecting endangered and threatened species. So this has been kind of a balance point that we've struck. So far, it seems to be working. We didn't make anybody happy, and we didn't make anybody too mad at us when this program got started. So we got to be somewhere close to the middle ground here.
Senator Bradley?
So that was my bill 2 years ago, Senate Bill 129. I remember it well.
Yep.
So I guess my question is, now that the program's up and running and using ARPA funds, do you still need all 4 positions through this biennium? because the backlog has hopefully been dealt with.
Correct, the backlog's been dealt with, we are up to date with it. We are anticipating a continued high rate of applications as more federal money gets spent in the state. Already we're talking about a power line project in New Hampshire that may or may not receive federal funding. So we are anticipating a draw on those resources for Fish and Game.
Further?
Senator Bradley?
So if there's federal funding now for the next 18 months in this budget from July 1 to December 24, could we cut this appropriation back to $100,000 in each year? Because I think you're fully funded for 18 months.
We're fully funded for 18 months.
Or actually $200,000 in 25. That would probably be a better way to do it.
I'm looking to take this away and do 200 in each of the federal by cutting a position. So this was to fund the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And what he's saying is to take that out and redistribute the ARPA funds by taking away one person. So taking 4 people down to 3.
So what you're suggesting would be 3 people in the last 6 months?
No, over the course of 2 years.
No, it would be the funding for the 4 positions for 6 months. You're asking for $800,000 to round it up over 2 years. A quarter of that, because your ARPA funds for 18 months would be $200,000.
So the general fund as currently is 193,000 in 25, right? Am I reading it
25.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't that what you're proposing?
Yeah, I mean, that would be another way to look at it.
Well, I think that's what I'm reading here, right?
Yeah.
Is that's what the ask is? Let's just leave it the way it is.
Just,
Senator Rosenwald had a question.
Well, I
so
do. I have a
While you're
question.
thinking about that, we'll let Senator Rosenwald ask her
So
question.
I'm just a little unclear about why the ARPA funds will not be available after December 24. Is that because you will have spent all the ones you're given? I mean, everybody else's ARPA funds have to be encumbered by the end of 24, but spent until before 26. So I'm just trying to get clarity on why the ARPA funds won't be available after the end of 24.
My understanding it is when the funds were actually granted, the initial amount of ARPA funds were through a certain date, and then as subsequent grants were provided to the state, they were through dates that were further out in the calendar. These funds, because they fund people, personnel cost, will not be encumbered or obligated at that time because people are expenditures. You don't obligate them prior to, like a contract.
But can I
These
ask
funds
something?
have to-
Okay, we're doing a lot of work probably we don't need to do here. So I'm gonna put this one on hold. We'll have the commissioner come back to us with additions and deletions, and we'll go on to number 3. Number 3, we'll go right to a motion since we've already funded half of this position.
Second.
Moved ought to pass, seconded by Senator Ennis. Further discussion, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? And nobody opposed. Number 4,
ought to pass. Second?
motion ought to pass, seconded by Senator Ennis. And all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And the ayes have it. And now we're down to Amendment 1446. Senator Bradley?
Yeah. We've had a lot of discussion about this here, we've had a lot of discussion about this in fiscal. I understand that, you know, there's been a reluctance on the part of the Fish and Game Department to move to online registration, but it's my hope that this will be accomplished by what we just agreed to in section 3 with the DOIT upgrade, and I hope we can support it.
Senator Rosenwald, you're also co-sponsor.
Ditto.
Do I have a motion? Senator Bradley moves.
Second.
Pass. Oh, no. Senator Rosenwald seconds it. I'm sure she did.
I want to ride on the slopes. No.
Further discussion, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that's it for Fish and Game. Beautiful. All right. Back to page 1. And I hope the interview goes well.
Thank you very much. We've been without an engineer for a year, so we're looking forward to this interview today.
All right. Site Evaluation Committee. There's no additional requests. Anything I should be looking at?
I don't think we're aware of anything for site evaluation committee.
Okay, sense of the committee,
Second.
all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, noes? I don't hear any noes. Information technology.
So the Department of Information Technology, this first, number 1, is one that you just voted on for Fish and Game. It's the shared position between Veterans Home and Fish and Game, and this is just the DOIT portion and other funds.
Okay, so number 1, Senator D'Alessandro moves item, seconded by
Me. Second.
Senator Ennis, I think I heard first. All right. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 2.
The second item, DOIT came to this, they realized there was a missing line in the governor's budget where they had funded Department of Agriculture DOIT portion, but they forgot to fund the DOIT other portion. So this is just clean up technical language to fund the other half of the transfer.
Okay. Comments? Seeing none? Senator D'Alessandro moves the item. Senator Bertzell, second that?
Okay.
I thought you felt left out on the last one.
Yeah, I thought that-
When Senator Ennis beat you.
Sorry.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Board of Tax and Land Appeal.
There were no additional requests from Board of Tax and Land Appeals.
Sense of the committee to approve?
Senator Brown.
Senator,
So I had asked for this to be held when it was on the list. I am dealing with a situation in one of my towns for some not-for-profit churches and other entities that I think is in the process of being resolved as we speak. If it's not resolved, I would probably at the end of our session be proposing an HB2 amendment, but I think
it is on hold.
for purposes of today, we can move forward with this.
Oh, okay. So Senator Bradley moves the item. Second by Senator D'Alessandro. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? And I think the only thing left is the community college, but I want to have at least a 5-minute recess. Turn your mics off? Yes. We'll be back. Community college systems, various things. Item number one, dual and concurrent enrollment. Discussion? Motion? Number one, we're on page 10. And Senator Rosenwald moved, is that right? No, okay.
I am moving it.
And I'll second.
Senator Bradley moves it, and Senator Rose. Birdsell seconds it?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
To the Chancellor. Look at this, this reduction. What's the impact of this reduction on the program for dual and concurrent enrollment? I mean, this is something we're pushing all the time. And if we take $750,000 out in 24 and 25, what happens to the program?
It will certainly lessen opportunity. I want to start by saying we're grateful that it reflects an increase in where we've been, but we had hoped for the additional funding. The investment the state makes in dual and concurrent enrollment is really a benefit to New Hampshire students and families in terms of affordability. Every dollar that goes in, and the way the program works, basically returns almost $5 in value to students and their families for costs that they don't incur for post-secondary education. Right now, what we know is the majority of students who participate in this typically are just taking one or two courses. And if they, as we know, they typically are enrolling at four-year institutions where a full-time student pays flat tuition as a full-time student, can take 12, 15, 18 credits. So that additional 1-2 courses isn't necessarily having an impact. But if we can build this program in a way that students take a coherent set of courses while in high school, a full semester or even a full year of college under their belts, the savings become measurable to the students and their families. And more importantly, if we pair this with the work being done around House Bill 1530, which is the pathway between the community college system and the university system, we can build a bridge for students who are currently in New Hampshire high schools that more likely keeps them in the university system in the state of New Hampshire for four-year degrees rather than moving out of state. We know that students from New Hampshire who are pursuing four-year degrees are more likely than not to do that out of state. We think that if we structure this program effectively, we can create opportunities that will keep students not just in the community college system, university system, but long-term in New Hampshire's workforce. So the lost opportunity is fewer students with that possibility.
Thank you.
Senator Bradley.
So, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So, just the numbers. Current law, it's 1.5 million.
Correct.
The governor proposed 2. The House funded it at 3.25. I'm proposing to drop it back to 2.5. So that's a $1 million increase over current law.
Yeah. And I absolutely want to acknowledge appreciation for the fact that this is more than we've had. I think there's more that we could do, but again, I understand competing priorities.
No, I get that.
Further discussion? Seeing none?
If you would, Mr. Chairman, I think that the system appreciates the generosity. There's no question about that. Okay, and that's a good thing. The question is, when does reality set in terms of what's happening? And the generosity may be at this level, but the ability to go further is over here, and that's what the additional appropriation is for. We want to make opportunity available. This is a money-saving situation, but it's also an incentive situation, which says a kid will go on and be part of the workforce. And we got to retain the workforce. I mean, that's our problem right now. Half the kids that graduate are going out of state. We're keeping people here is what this is all about, and we have a mechanism to do that. We have a couple of mechanisms to do that. But if we keep only doing it halfway, It just doesn't work.
We're seeing,
60%.
we're seeing two different streams of opportunity here. One is for students with significant need. And Manchester School District, most recent figures show over 40% of students eligible for free and reduced lunch. Whether it's Claremont or Berlin, whether it's Nashua, Rochester, places where we have campuses, typically above 30% of the students in this state have that eligibility. So we know that financial need is going to be increasingly important, and this addresses that group. But it's also the case that for middle-class families, there's virtually no federal aid available other than loans. The ability to help those families avoid cost of post-secondary education or to manage it more effectively with dual and concurrent enrollment, that's part of the opportunity too. And both of those streams will help bring a better educated group of high school graduates into New Hampshire's workforce.
If I could, Mr. Chairman.
Certainly.
I have, within the district that I represent, I have 8 minority schools. 8 minority schools. I have a high school in the district that I represent that is a minority school. Those are the kinds of people that would take advantage of this program. And yet, if we're not providing that incentive and that opportunity, it's the minorities that are going to be shut down, because that's the bulk of the population that needs this help. And I say to you, I've got 8 minority schools in the district that I represent. That means that blacks and Latinos represent a majority of the student population. They have needs. I would bet if you looked at median family income, they're well below the national average. If you look at free and reduced price lunch, it's almost 100%. It's almost 100%. Those are needy people. And if we shut off opportunity for the needy, we are doing something that just eliminates their ability to advance, eliminates their ability to go ahead. I mean, for years and years and years, we would brag about how good the public schools were in New Hampshire. The president of Dartmouth College was a graduate of Central High School. The guy who invented the Erasmus method of teaching languages was a graduate of Central High School. The McDonald brothers went to West High School in Manchester. All right, poor guys who made it, and made it because they got some assistance. If we continue to repress these things, we're our own worst enemies, and we're going to pay the price in the long run. We, the legislators, and we as family, as I've said, I'm in my home for 51 years. I've lived in the same house for 51 years. We built it. I'm going to die there. I hope they bury me in the backyard. All right? But let me just say this. That high school is going to be better because I served 10 years on the school board, and I fought here for the monies to make education affordable and responsible. And if we don't do that, we're our own worst enemies. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Bradley.
Well, and Senator, I'm not disagreeing with a word you said, but I'm going to remind you, this is a 66% increase over current law. 66% increase. That even beats Joe Biden's record inflation.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. Okay, the ayes have it. Item number 2, the Promise Program. Discussion.
All right, so I had proposed, thank you. I had proposed to eliminate this. I have to admit, hadn't really heard much about it, but Senator Pearl and others have talked to me about what this is. It is a new program, which means that what I'm going to propose would be a major increase in funding, but not as much as you want. So I'm going to propose that we, instead of reducing it by $6 million or eliminating it, that we actually fund $3 million of it in fiscal '23, lapsing June 30th of 25. So I like that response. Thank you very much.
I'm grateful. I appreciate Senator D'Alessandro's points and his passion, but we're grateful. We know there are competing priorities. We're part of an effort to support the state's workforce, and you're charged with figuring out how to prioritize these components to make it work well. So we're grateful for the support.
And I appreciate that too, because I would just make everybody aware, your current appropriation is 56 million. We're not touching the governor or the House passed version of 61.3, moving to 64, which, quick calculation, is a over 20% increase in your base funding, and you got everything you asked for, or most of everything you asked for in the capital budget.
I'm grateful.
Mr. Chair?
Senator Pearl.
Well, I'm happy to go to bat for you on this program. As Shannon explained it to me, it sounded like a pretty good program, and I will want to see hopefully some results that you can provide for us as the program goes forward, and maybe update us as to how it's helping, so that we can know we did a good job putting the money into it. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We appreciate the support. We see neighboring states pursuing similar initiatives, don't want New Hampshire left behind at a competitive disadvantage for recruiting employers or workforce.
Well, thank you, and that was part of what we talked about when Shannon and I were discussing it, and I hope to see as good or better results as she talked about in the other states.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, I got Senator Burns. You have a question?
I do, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I was listening to Senator Pearl, and apparently there are states that do have this program. I haven't had a chance to converse, I've been away, but can you send me some of the information on the positivity of the other states?
Gladly.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Okay, so I've got a motion by Senator Bradley, seconded by Senator Pearl. Well,
Never mind.
you weren't quick enough, sorry, Senator.
He didn't even say
Further
anything.
discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, items 3, 4, and 5 taken all together because they all deal with the same issue. I prefer option 3, discussion. Senator Bradley.
So Senator Waters reached out to me about Senate Bill 153, which we supported. I proposed to him, instead of a $2 million appropriation, a $1 million appropriation. Obviously, he was supportive of that because his name is on Amendment 1689. The amendment I would actually prefer that we go with is the same level of funding, but moved into fiscal '23.
The motion, or the amendment that matched up with that, wasn't that 1658?
Yes.
So we're clear what we're voting on? All right. Senator Bradley moves.
Thank you.
Second, Senator Rosenbaum. Not seeing any other discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And ayes have it. And item 3 goes forward. Item 4 and 5 are not. And the last thing, Senate Bill 237 is on hold.
Okay.
Do I have any other commitments I haven't done?
Because we did 3.
We considered 3, 4, and 5 all together. We talked about selecting one of the options. We voted on 3, and that would mean that 4 and 5 are gone away. Okay. Well, they're gone no matter what right now, unless you want to reconsider something. Okay, if everybody's good, I'm good. All right.
Motion to come out of exec.
We have a motion to come out of executive order, and it has been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Our business of the day being complete, we are adjourned.